In this next lecture, we're going to make it so our player can actually fire and shoot their weapon. If we close this and go over to the first person character blueprint and go over to the event graph. In the latest version of Unreal Engine 5.1, they changed the way that we add controls to our game. If you go over to Event Begin Play, we have this add mapping context, and this mapping context basically defines and stores all the information about the controls in our game. To go over to where it's located, click this little browse icon, and it'll take us to this folder, IMC Default. If I double click and open this up, it will show me all the different controls I have in my game. So I have one for jumping, moving, and looking. And if I go to my first person character, we have some controls for looking around, moving, and jumping. We're going to add our own control for when we shoot our gun. In order to do that, click this little add action mapping, and we need to create a new control for shooting. Because we started in the first person template, we already have this shooting one, but I want to go over how we can add some controls so you understand the process of it. So I'm just going to close this. And we also have this IMC weapons. This was used with the old first person weapon that we deleted a couple of lectures ago. So you just delete this, as we won't use this, and go over to actions and just delete this shooting action because I want to go over the process of creating this ourselves. Okay, so to create a new control, just right click and go input and select input action. Just call this IA_fire. And double click and head inside here. For now, we can leave all these settings as default as we don't need to change anything. Then if you go back to IMC default, and here under mappings, select the IA fire that we just made. Then here under select the key value, select the button that you want to use to trigger this action. So I want it so that whenever I press the left mouse button, it will call this action. So here under search, I'm going to look for the left mouse button and just select it. Then if I go back to my BP first person character, in some free space, I'm going to right click and look for IA fire. And here it is, IA fire. And whenever I press the left mouse button, it's going to call this trigger node. And when I call this trigger node, what I want to do is get my child actor, and I want to call the event shoot weapon inside of it. So, because we're going to be having loads of different weapons and systems, we need to create a reference to the base weapon inside of our first person character. So in order to do that, if we go back to the event graph and event begin play, after we do this, what we're going to do is just drag in our child actor. From here, we can drag off here and look for get child actor. This will get whatever actor that we've assigned inside of here. And from here, because we know our child actor is going to be either a child or the base weapon, we can drag off here and look for cast to BP base weapon. And just connect all the nodes here. And just so that we can easily access and reference the base weapon, right click on it and go promote to variable and call this our main weapon. Then, whenever we call the IA fire, what we're going to do is just drag in our main weapon and look for get main weapon, and we are going to call the shoot weapon inside of it. So if I just drag up here and look for shoot weapon and hook up triggered to here. And just go compile and save. Now, inside of our BP pistol, because it's a child of the BP base weapon, when we're holding the pistol and we call the shoot weapon, it's going to run all these nodes. So we can test everything out now. So I'm going to close this, go play, and press left mouse button. And when I press the left mouse button, we can see a line trace from here to 4,000 units in front of wherever I shoot. Although currently our line trace is green. The line trace will only go green when it hits something. And right now it's hitting the player character or our gun. That's why it's going green. So we need to make our line trace ignore certain actors. In order to do that, it's very simple. We can go over to our BP base weapon and go over to the fire weapon. And here we have actors to ignore. Here under actors to ignore, just drag off here and look for make array. And for this first one, just drag off here and look for self. This will make it so that it will ignore itself if it accidentally hits itself in the line trace. The second actor that we want to ignore is the player character, as they're going to be holding the weapon. So if we just right click and forget player character and connect this into here, our line trace will ignore itself and the player character, because currently right now I think it's accidentally hitting them. I'll go compile and save, close this and go play. And now whenever I shoot my line trace, it should just be red. And whenever I hit something, it will go green. So when my line trace hit this wall, so I think it has a world static collision, it went green because it hit it. And with this, we have a simple weapon firing system.